What's going on, everyone? So a lot of talk, a lot of questions about what's going to happen with Austin Reaves. Now, personally, I don't think the Lakers will trade Austin Reaves. Personally, I'm not against the Lakers trading Austin Reaves, as I'm sure many of you are familiar with. I don't want to trade Austin Reaves just to trade him, right? The example I've used in the past is I'm not trading him for like a Colin Sexton, right? But if you can turn Austin Reaves into either a key need, right? Not necessarily a superstar to that, but if you could get Daniel Gafford and Max Christie back, and now you solve two of your huge needs and just better fits slotted alongside Luke and LeBron, then I'd much prefer that. Obviously, the Lakers can go get another guy, whoever, would choose Giannis. Like, if they could get Giannis for Austin Reaves and then pieces, right, then yeah, you do that, right? But point is that Giannis scenario isn't probably happening, right? And then, the likelihood of the Lakers personally going hey, let's turn Austin Reaves into pieces. I don't really think the Lakers are going to go that route, right? I've even talked about, I wouldn't hate can you get a Cam Whitmore and a Jabari Smith, right? You look at a team like Houston, they really could use a guy like Austin Reaves, a guy that could self-create, score the basketball, shoot the basketball, create for others, right? He would be great in that system. So, could you maybe work something out in that regard? But the big concern, obviously, is okay, well, if you don't trade Austin Reaves, you either have to overpay him, right? Because he's going to get 30 plus million, or you have to run the risk of losing him this upcoming offseason. Not this season, coming up the following offseason. Correction, following offseason, right? Because this season he's going into a contract year. And he's not going to sign the extension with the Lakers because he'd get double the money if he goes into free agency. And then he can now get paid up to, a team could pay him 40 plus million, right? Now, couple benefits for the Lakers. One is there aren't a lot of teams that are going to have 30 to 40 million in cap space. There's only going to be a couple teams, one that comes to mind is the Brooklyn Nets. But is Brooklyn, one, going to pony that money up for Austin Reaves? Maybe. But two, would Austin Reaves want to go to a team like Brooklyn where it's at that point, he's going to be 27, 28 years old. And it's are you going to be able to go through a rebuild for 3, 4, 5 years, right? Unless you're getting Austin Reaves and two other guys, right? So I don't know if that really makes sense, right? You look at a team maybe Utah would come and bring him. It's just, but again, it's okay, Austin Reaves and Lauri Markkanen, are those two guys that are leading you anywhere? It's just, I don't know. I just don't know if the Lakers might not even be worried because it's okay, who's going to come in and swoop Austin Reaves? And we could always just pay him and trade him later. But the thing that also I want to talk about specifically is Austin Reaves sign and trade, right? You see it more and more with the new CBA in particular, but it's kind of might be the only option for Austin Reaves. Now, here's the thing, though. You probably aren't going to get as big of a return for Austin Reaves as you would if you just traded him outright, right? Because teams now know, oh, well, you're going to lose him regardless. So, but I still think you would get a nice return just because I do think that there would be multiple teams that would be willing to kind of get in on the bid. So the more demand you could drive up, right? Supply and demand, right? The more that you could drive up the demand, well, then there's a limited supply. Well, now, you might be able to get an actual feasible return for Austin Reaves. So I'm not personally worried about the Lakers losing Austin Reaves, right? Obviously it's a possibility, right? I don't want to make it sound it's not going to happen. No, it definitely could happen. I just don't think it's very likely because I think one, the Lakers would just pay him, right? And then figure it out later and trade him later. Or B, again, you'd work at a sign and trade because I don't think Austin Reaves is going to want all the teams that are going to have the cap space to sign him are all going to be bad teams that he's probably not going to want to be on because he's probably going to want to win, right? He's looking at it dude, I don't have 5 years. Now I'm 33 and we're now just getting into the swing of things, right? So to me, I look at it as Austin Reaves probably going to want to go to one of the better teams, one of the good teams. And that's where I think the Lakers would best benefit because they could come in and be okay, well, you three want him, all right? So who's paying the most? And we'll send him there, right? And as long as Austin Reaves is open to any of those teams, because that's the thing too, you got to keep in mind, he would have some say, right? Like he would have some like, like, hey, I don't want to go to that team. I'd rather just go to free agency. Like, because he'd have that threat of like, well, I could just go sign with Brooklyn, right? Like, I don't want to go there. Like a team like Detroit could be like, hey, we want Austin Reaves. We'll work out a sign and trade. I mean, they could even give us everything we want. They could be like, hey, we'll give you Jalen Duren and, whomever, right? Like, we'll give you whatever you want for him, right? And outside of like Cade Cunningham, right? Like, we'll give you whatever you want. Take your pick. And if Austin Reaves is like, I ain't going to Detroit, which he's already on the record saying, then there goes that, right? So you'd have to find teams that he wants to go to. But I do think that there are several teams that would want him, go after him, right? I think there are teams that, probably going to want to hit the reset button a little bit, right? I think there are, I could see a team even like Phoenix being like, hey, like, Austin Reaves be a better playmaker. He could kind of slot in alongside Devin Booker type thing, right? Maybe you could get some pieces or whatever, depending on what they get for Kevin Durant stuff. So maybe, you could work something out there. There's also the potential of, something develops between now or the trade deadline. I would be a little surprised if the Lakers trade him in the this off season. I do think it's possible he gets traded at the trade deadline assuming if the Lakers trade him, right? There's also a real possibility the Lakers just never trade him, sign him to a new deal, and that's their guy, right? They get him 4 years, $120 million, and, they're paying him $30 million a year. And that's who they have slotted alongside Luka, right? That could be a possibility. I don't know how well that will work, right? With Luka and Reaves as your backcourt for, the next 8 years. But, that could be an option that the Lakers go through. But I do think, depending on how the season is progressing for the Lakers, right? I think if the Luka and Reaves concerns continue to be an issue, right? And I think depending on other teams' situations, right? Because you might get a team that wants to be good that isn't and are like, man, we need to do something, right? Or you might get a team that, their stars getting a little antsy or wants out or something. Like, you point at, like, there's teams that may end up going like, hey, let's take a gamble on an Austin Reaves. Let's go get an Austin Reaves, right? Get the assurance that he's willing to re-sign there, and then the Lakers can work that deal out, right? Like, so, I don't think the Lakers are going to necessarily trade him, but it also wouldn't surprise me. And, I know that there's talks about like, oh, Lakers, it's being overblown and all that stuff. But like, what are Lakers supposed to say? Like, oh, we're trading this bum? Like, no. Like, Lakers want to keep him as this mythical unicorn that, hey, nobody's going to get. He's ours and only ours. Things change. You never know, right? And also depending on what the Lakers get, all of a sudden that trade that we just don't see coming falls in the Lakers' lap. And, so we'll see. Time will tell. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. So let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out. So if you enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.